Hello and welcome to the Flying Gato YouTube channel. My name is Elias. In today's video, we're going to be covering the 5 things I absolutely love about my Honda Civic Type R. Now, in recent weeks, I've been covering this car a lot. I hope you guys enjoy that. If you do, let me know in the comments. Leave a like button and subscribe if you want more of these videos. That's what lets me know that you guys like these things. But today's video, I'm going to be covering the 5 things I absolutely love. I know I've had a couple of negative videos about this car, and every car has its positives and negatives. Obviously, the positives outweigh the negatives on this car by a whole lot, huge margin. So let's go over those things. If you're considering buying one of these cars, what are you doing? Go ahead and buy it already if you can, right? These things are still difficult to get at MSRP. But yeah, let's get started and have some fun. Now, the first thing that I love about this car, and I'm sure you'll love it too if you owned one, is coming out and just seeing it sitting in your garage or your parking lot or your driveway, and it just looks so well put together. I really like the way everything flows together, and on this generation I chose the Rally Red paint. In my previous generation Civic Type R, that was Championship White. If you don't know what that is, it's like a little bit of an off-white. It's a very special color for Honda, and I think that's an iconic color, and I love it. But I think Rally Red really works with this generation because it's a more subdued styling generation. A lot of folks didn't like the way the previous generation looked. It's very angular, very Japanese. I actually like that very much. I love the way the FK8 previous generation Type R looks, and it just stands out and it's really cool. It looks almost like if you know what a Gundam is, let me know in the comments if you do. It looks like a Gundam sometimes. I love that car. This car, when it first came out and I saw it, I'm like, they're going away from, it looking super cool. They're going away from it, being so angular and angry looking to a more subdued styling, and I wasn't a fan. The first thing I wasn't a fan of is this front here. It just didn't work for me when I first saw it. But seeing it in person every day has made me really appreciate all of the curves and how they flow, and everything kind of works together. Again, back to the red color. This red really goes well with these black accents here. Red and black is the Type R color. This is the Type R badge right here. So it's black, black chrome with the red R badge. And that's why I think red and Championship White are my only 2 considerations for a color for a Civic Type R. The other thing I like is this black accent up here. Really does so well with the red paint. And back here we have black mirror caps. Again, black and red, black and red. Down here, black wheels, red calipers. It just looks so good. And the whole thing up front works really well. The last thing I'll say is that large grille back down here kind of sets it off as a performance vehicle. I like that a lot. Let's take a look at a different angle because I think this car looks great in almost every angle. From this angle, probably my least favorite angle. The reason I'm showing you my least favorite angle is because I think it still flows really well. We'll start from the back here. This wing basically makes it stand out visibly, very, very, very visibly, versus every other Civic hatchback that Honda makes. I like this wing for 2 reasons. 1, it stands out. 2, it's functional. And I'll add a third. It's not crazy. It's not super high up. It's not a giant wing. It kind of blends in, right, to the lines. If you're kind of looking for a Type R, hey, am I looking at a Type R right now? And you see the wing? Yeah, okay, there's the Type R. Some folks are painting this red or body colored. If you have a Championship White, it'll be white. Let me know in the comments if you guys think I should paint this Rally Red. I'm not sure yet. I am considering it. Down here, as I said, you got red calipers, painted red, with black wheels. I really like these wheels that they came out with. The previous generation were 20-inch. These are 19-inch. Much, much better. And the way this flows down here kind of just works together. The only kind of issue area is kind of right here, but let's ignore that. The lines kind of clash. Coming up front, this is one of my favorite parts here. Again, these bulging fenders, back and front, really awesome. And these functional vents, super dirty, functional vents, tells you this car means serious business. Very few vehicles have functional vents like that. I'm thinking about the Porsche 911 GT3s. The Supra, I believe, has a couple of vents like that. Most of those vents are fake though. This car has really no fake vents except for, I guess you can call this front a little bit of a fake vent, but not the biggest deal, especially compared to the previous generation Type R. And again, it just flows so well. I love the way this thing looks. Let me know in the comments, how do you think this thing has evolved? Do you guys prefer the FK8 or this current generation? Do you guys like this car at all? I love it, and that's why I'm making a video about it, but I'd like to know what you think. Now this next one, let's open the hood, because one of the biggest things I love about this car is actually the engine. And I know, a turbo 4-cylinder, a turbo 4-popper. How special can this be? Well, this is why I love it so much. If you're looking for a 4-cylinder, and I can argue about this all day, but I think Honda makes the best 4-cylinder on the market. And here it is. I'm going to give you guys a little tour of this engine. Let me know what you guys think. The packaging of this engine is really well done. Again, Honda knows exactly what they're doing. I'm going to start here. This is the ECU. This is where the computer lives. It's very well covered up. It's very nice. This is the battery. For this generation, they covered the battery with this blanket. I think it's very functional and it's a good idea. These batteries can degrade if they're not temperature controlled, especially if they're crazy cold. Right here, this is your brake fluid reservoir. And all this here, from this intake, goes into the intake box. Your filter lives in here and air goes that way. Super genius design. Cold air gets fed in from the front right here, drops into here. If this gets water in it, it just drips right back out. Again, genius intake design. Only thing that could use improvement is a little bit more noise, which engineers try very hard not to introduce too much noise from the drivetrain. I'm going to introduce more noise, or more performance noise, by changing the filter of this. I don't think I'm going to get a separate intake, because this intake really, really well done. This intake plenum, all of this stuff is very well done. I don't think I'm going to change any of this. And over there, this right here, people were saying lots of different things. This is actually just effectively a resonator. Looking closely here, you can see this is where the turbo assembly is. So effectively, the engine burns air and fuel, goes through here. The turbo spools up very quickly because it's right next to the engine. That spools up a compressor that's right there. This compressor goes, and this charges up pressure in the intake plenum, which pulls air as quickly as possible, as much as that turbo will want, and puts it into the engine at the back. Super cool design. One thing I would change about it though is that there's a lot of heat generated here, and right in front of it is the radiator. Unfortunately, the catalytic converter, it's right here, it gets really hot. And so in my previous generation Type R that I owned, I took off the catalytic converter. That reduces the temperature that your engine bay has, because catalytic converters work at a very specified temperature range, and it's very hot. And so you take that off, it does improve your cooling quite a bit. I haven't decided if I'm doing that in this car yet, but there we go. This is an electric actuator, electric wastegate actuator. Super cool to see that. It's controlled by the computer, and it tells it when to effectively turn down the boost, turn up the boost, and that's how it controls that. One thing I am going to upgrade right there, that's the expansion tank for the radiator fluid. That cracks. So that exploded on my previous generation Type R because I used to track it a lot. That is the weakest point of the engine. Now that blows up, you lose all of your coolant effectively, and you can have trouble. So I believe if you're going to track this car a lot, you should upgrade that to a better cooling system. So now that I've taken you through a tour of this engine, why do I believe this engine is so special, right? And I'll go through some factors here. 320 horsepower, thereabouts, out of a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. That's a lot of horsepower for such a small engine. And it does two things. It gives you all that horsepower. It does it fairly quickly. There's very minimal, every turbo car is going to have turbo lag, but there's very minimal turbo lag. And when you want things to quiet down and you want to just use this as a commuter car and go do your errands at peace, it quiets down actually probably too much. Frankly, it quiets down too much. We'll fix that with an exhaust and intake. And what it really does is gives you efficiency. It's a very efficient motor. It does almost 30 miles to the gallon if you drive it like a sane person. And even me, an orangutan that drives this thing like an idiot on back roads, I'm getting around 24 to 25 miles to the gallon. Again, I'm hot footing it through empty roads and empty back roads, and it's a ton of fun to do. And I'm very, very happy with that miles per gallon. So it's super efficient and also very powerful. And I know it's gonna be reliable. And I love this thing so much. The engine almost makes the car, but it's not the only thing that I love about this car. We obviously talked about its looks and performance, but the practicality of this car makes it a no-brainer. Honestly, this thing is so practical. It's almost crazy that you'd buy anything else. Try doing this in a Porsche 911. You can't do it. In fact, if I want to, I can easily lay down. I'll show you. And here I am, easily laying down in the back of my Type R. The practicality of this car is the third thing I love so much about it. I fit so many things back here. It's been a super practical car. I took a road trip from New York to Florida when I bought this car with my family, the luggage, baby seats. My wife was back here. It was an extremely comfortable cruiser on the highway for a almost 1,200 mile trip. And it was amazing. The next thing that I love is the interior design and layouts of this car. We're looking at the passenger seat right now. And outside of getting in and out of it, these are the best seats you can have for any distance you want to go. The perforations are perfect. The plushness is perfect. It holds you in as you drive around. It's got really actually supportive back support. The lumbar is very good. The backrest, the headrest, it's actually really nice. And it says Type R on it, of course. And the layout of the interior is very driver focused. Before we turn it on, let's just take a look at how good it just looks. I mean, that dash is so well designed. It is extremely well done. I did add this. This is my phone holder. If you want it, it's a link in the description below. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about that. There's a link in the description below. They should have 10% off discount for you guys since I like this so much. I reached out and I asked for a 10% discount, but the overall layout is so well done. The steering wheel is a perfect shape. I love how it's basically a 3-spoke steering wheel. It's got a little design here. I feel like they almost copied Porsche, which I think Porsche does have some really nice wheel designs for their GT3 cars especially. But the way everything just falls to hand, it's what you'd expect from Honda's ergonomics. Man maximum, machine minimum is exactly what you get here. The distance between, I mean, I'm literally touching the steering wheel and the shift knob. That's how quickly you go from left to right. That's amazing. To make something designed that well takes a lot of thought and engineering. Honda has figured that out. Let's turn it on. Let me know in the comments, but I really think this dash is actually iconic. I know it's just a screen, it no longer has the gauges, but the fact that the S2000 and this Type R have effectively the same tachometer, I love that so much. One of my favorite things about the S2000 is that the dashboard harkens back to Ayrton Senna's Formula One cars. I love the fact that everything that is you need to use, like your HVAC system, it's very close. I mean, look at that. I don't have to travel far to go from stick shift to Let's say I want to go a little colder, bam, done. Let's say I want to turn the whole thing off, the on-off button's right there. Let's say I want a volume knob right here, easy to use. I love this thing. But everything's also on the steering wheel. So I can go to the next song or next channel right here. I can go volume up, volume down right here. And it's fairly easy to use the systems on your steering wheel. Everything on the left side here, just comes easy to hand. And how awesome are these vents? I love that there's no piano black down here. This is kind of like an aluminum plastic thing. This is gonna wear very nicely throughout the years as you keep using it as a daily driver. And then the fact that this is like a suede material, again, just adds to the comfort factor of the driver and passenger. Honda did a really great job at this interior. I'm glad that every interior that Honda has is almost the same. It's very similar to this. My wife's 2025 Pilot has everything effectively laid out like this. It is so great. And the last thing I'll touch on is the pedals. The pedals are very well spaced. Even the spacer, so the brake pedal and the accelerator pedal were very oddly spaced in the previous generation Type R. In this Type R, however, they are very well placed, so you can do your heel toe very easily. Look at that. That's awesome. Honda fixed that in this generation of Civic, and I really applaud them for that. Now, reason number 5 why I love this car and I think this car is so special is the fact that this is the only car that you can buy in the United States from Honda that's still made in Japan. Now, I don't know if you guys grew up in the 90s and in the early 2000s with Hondas. I did. And I remember always having a discussion with my dad or my family about, hey, we're buying a new car, or we're buying, obviously we only had used cars, but we're buying an additional car, or we have to change up our car. Let's make sure the car is made in Japan. And I found out back when I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, that the first number or letter in front of your VIN number indicates where your car came from. A J means Japan. A 1 means North America. And there's a few variations to that, but a J always means made in Japan. And I know that they're very hard workers. They're known to be extremely hard workers. And because of that, I know that whatever's made in Japan, it's going to have a little bit of extra touch of well-made. Of course, Japan does make mistakes. Japanese workers make mistakes. Engineering mistakes happen. But overall, if something is made in Japan, you know it's made really well. In fact, the camera I'm currently shooting this film on is made in Japan. It's a Canon camera. The lens, my Sigma 16mm lens, also made in Japan. So they make really good products. They're high-end technicians. They call them takumis. Takumi is basically a Japanese workman that knows what he or she is doing very, very well. They're very meticulous. It's in their culture to just do things so well. And there's nothing against American manufacturing. I have a American-made Camaro. I think it's a great car, but the body panel gaps on that are hilarious. The previous generation Type R is made in England, and that car was not very well made either. I mean, the panel gaps on that were horrible from the factory. I remember that. The panel gaps on this car are effectively perfect. Door seal up beautifully. Nothing in this car rattles at all. There's a couple of beginning rattles in the seats of the Type Rs when they first came out, but that was a seats problem, not a manufacturing problem. The last thing I'll say is, this is kind of a bonus. I always try to add a couple bonuses to this thing. The fact that this is only a Civic means a lot to me. I love the fact that I could have bought a Porsche 911. I looked at Porsche 911s before I bought my Corvette C606. I drove my brother-in-law's Porsche 911. I think it's a great car. The 911 will forever be an amazing sports car. But for the money, for the price that they're charging, especially these days, to get a base model Carrera 911, it's like $120,000. That's crazy to me for a car that's effectively, yes, has been developed over many, many, many years, and they've perfected the sports car effectively, but it's grown very large. It's heavier now, and I don't really identify with that expensive feel of car. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But I love the fact that the Civic is just a Civic, a quote-unquote Civic. I can drive it normally. I drove it down a bunch of back roads. Yeah, it's going to get a lot of paint scratches, and the paint's quality is horrible. Yeah, I'll just touch it up. I don't have to worry about it. The depreciation on this is never going to be bad. Every Honda depreciates extremely well, meaning you barely lose much value because everyone knows they're reliable cars. And so I know the depreciation is not going to be bad. I know that parts for it are going to be available and cheap. If I blow an engine on this, it's 7 or 8 grand, maybe. If I want used, I can go even cheaper. If I blow an engine in a Porsche 911, let's say, that's 20 grand out the door. Insane. And so the fact that it's just a Civic is another bonus factor that I just love about this car. I love that it's just a Civic. It's not an Acura. It's not a BMW. It's not a Porsche. It's not a Lexus. It's just a Honda Civic. That's all I'm driving. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get something off the ground here. I'm trying to see how many subscribers I can get in the next 6 months. So if you want to help me out with that, I truly appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time. Peace.